Welcome to episode 1 of the U.S. Anne Frank Youth Network's podcast, Echoes of Anne Youthful Voices. This is a podcast created as a platform for young people to engage with meaningful topics. We will be chatting with members of the Anne Frank Youth Network domestically and internationally, as well as young people who engage with the legacy of Anne Frank, centering ideas of tolerance, inclusivity, human rights, and democratic values. I will be your host for this season. My name is Emily Jensen. I'm double majoring in environmental studies and political science here at the University of South Carolina. Now, let's turn to Morgan and Sam. Could you all start by introducing yourselves, your role at the Anne Frank Center, and the Anne Frank Youth Network?
My name is Morgan Bailey, and I am the Director of Educational Programs and Outreach at the Anne Frank Center, and I support the Youth Network. I've been a part of the Anne Frank, Youth Network, you could say, for over a decade in some capacity. Was a part of the youth conference that the Anne Frank hosted in 2014 in Amsterdam. Since graduating from college and grad school and then coming to work at the Anne Frank Center, have been able to be a part of growing and developing the youth network here in the U.S.
My name is Sam Livoti, and I am an education specialist at the Anne Frank Center at the University of South Carolina. And I first got involved in the youth network also over a decade ago. But I was actually a peer guide at a peer guide training. So that was in 2013. I ended up going to college, got back involved with the Anne Frank Center once it opened in Columbia at USC, and then started working here after graduation.
All right, lovely. So what is the Anne Frank Youth Network, and what do young people in it do? How do they participate in the network?
The Anne Frank Youth Network is inspired by Anne Frank's life and legacy, and it is a global initiative developed by the Anne Frank House. The mission of the Anne Frank Youth Network is to promote equal rights, active citizenship, and a future free of discrimination, prejudice, and injustice.
Yeah, so Otto Frank, who was Anne's dad, he was the only survivor of their family, and in the years later, in the development of the Anne Frank House as an organization, it's of course a museum, but it's also an educational institution. And so he was a big part of founding and launching that. And a part of his vision for it was to be a place that could bring together young people from all over the world who felt inspired by Anne. And he knew that could be Jewish people, but it could also not be Jewish people. And that could be people from Germany or the Netherlands, like Anne, or that could be people from different countries. And so he was committed to bringing together people from all kinds of backgrounds. And he did that even during his lifetime. We have old black and white images of him sitting around with young people from different countries, engaging in conversations about the world and politics and religion and all of these kinds of things. And so the youth network that we know today is truly birthed out of his vision for that, because he believed that hate happens and grows when we don't know each other. And so one way to fight against that is to bring different people all together, and that's what the Youth Network strives to do.
Then, if anyone is interested in getting involved with the Youth Network, how would they go about getting involved? And with that, what could they expect to do as part of the network?
So there's a couple of reasons to join the Youth Network. One is educational programming. In the Anne Frank Youth Network, young people can learn about human rights, tolerance, and democracy through workshops that might be in person, local to you, or it could be virtually, nationally with your peers, with other young people across the U.S. There's also opportunities within the network to connect with like-minded people from all over the United States. So it's not just happening in your city, in your state, it's happening all over the U.S. So it's a great way to meet people virtually or maybe even in person at one of our conferences here in Columbia. We also have events that will happen in your region, in your state, in your city, but also, again, those national virtual meetings that you can attend.
Another cool kind of idea behind the Youth Network is the educational programs that were being done through the Anne Frank House in the years, really over the past several decades. Typically were always in person, and they revolved around these traveling exhibits that the Anne Frank Center has, and we rotate all over the country. And to be a part of the youth network, you had to be a part of this peer education, peer training experience that Sam just mentioned that she was a part of when she was in middle school. And what would often happen, and I experienced this firsthand, for example, the most kind of discouraging was when I was doing a guide training in Alaska. And it was this incredible experience for these young people. And then they said, well, what can we do to stay connected to you and this work? And I was like, I really have nothing to offer you, right? Like there was nothing that I could say they could kind of cling on to stay connected. And so the youth network has shifted recently, and that's why we have virtual opportunities as well. So the idea being that no matter where you're located in the United States, you can be a part of the U.S. Youth Network, but then also the Global Youth Network, right? Like we mentioned, young people all over the world, in countries in South America, Middle East, in Asia and Europe, all over, and Africa. And we've really got students who are connected everywhere, which is really, really cool. But something that's a little bit different now is that you don't have to be a part of the in-person programming necessarily. You don't have to be a part of the guide training now. So anyone who is just interested in the themes that Sam mentioned, that wants to get connected and be involved, is able to do that, right? And so we're a lot more, have more of an open door policy now to stay involved. So no matter where you are listening to this, you can get connected virtually and then in person as well, depending on where you're located.
Yeah, so you can follow us on Instagram at us.AnneFrank on Instagram. Follow us there for any updates on events local to your area. You can find out about our conferences, in-person events that may be happening in your state or city. You can also make an account on the afin.org website. So that's Anne Frank Youth Network, their abbreviation, AFIN, AFYN.org. Make an account, and then you'll see the Global Youth Network. So that's the global initiative. You'll find photos. You can find resources and tools to create your own workshops, get connected to young people in the youth network all over the world.
That was Morgan Bailey and Sam Livoti chatting about the U.S. Anne Frank Youth Network, what it is, what it does, and how to get involved. As Sam said, if you'd like to get involved and stay up to date with what the U.S. Anne Frank Youth Network is doing, check out our Instagram at us.AnneFrankYouthNetwork, or you can check the episode notes below to access our link tree. Make sure to stay tuned for our next episode.